reactive or are we proactive? What is it about us? We wait for something to happen and then we react. Well, joining us live in the studios, Jane Mutalele is the president of the Association of Consulting Engineers of Kenya, ASEC, and Henry Ochieng is the CEO of the Kenya Alliance of Resident Associations, KARA.
Are we ever prepared for even a little bit of rain?
Or disaster?
We should be prepared. I mean, there are ways that we can prepare. For the normal rains, we should absolutely always be prepared. For this kind of rain, we need to add a little bit more than cleaning drains and opening drains and everything else. For this one, what we've done is almost permanent. We've permanently interfered with our causeway. And therefore, it's not just that the rains are coming tomorrow, then we prepare today. We need to do a lot more than that. El Nino is supposed to end probably mid this month, and we'll have a dry spell. And then in another 3 years, then the rains will come back as they have today. I'm just praying that in 3 years we've learned something from this. And as soon as it dries up, there are things that we're going to do that are going to mitigate the next rain season.
Like what can we do? Because the houses that have been built on riverbeds will still be there. So when the rains come, those houses will still be there and there'll be more.
That's exactly my point. Do those houses have to be there? I'm just imagining if I had a house in that area, what would make me want to stay there when I know the rains are coming the next time? I think the havoc that has been caused by sometimes disaster is not always a bad thing. So the people who are there, if they know the next rain will cause them to be like this, they should be able to move. And just allow me to just mention something about the affordable housing. It's something that many people have opposed. It's actually a very good thing. I mean, the affordable housing. When I say it's good, we have houses that we can move people to. So to me, the people who have built, as soon as the first block of houses is done, the people who are next to the river should start moving to those blocks. Not selling them, maybe renting them, just start moving people gradually from the water course.
Do you think that idea will be passed by, like someone will approve it? Because the houses are supposed to be sold to salaried people, and the people who live around rivers mostly are in informal jobs, and so they will probably not be able to.
The idea is a very good idea. We can tweak it so that it serves all of us.
Besides Hot 96, where else do you think that idea would be floated?
We will talk to the right people. I'm hoping that somebody somewhere is listening, and affordable housing is actually, it could be a good thing if we turn it to be a national, something that can serve everybody in the nation.
People don't seem to care, or maybe there's so much corruption that you put up 10, 12-story flats in the middle of a riparian land, let's say.
Yeah.
Isn't that disastrous?
Sure, Jeff. Actually, all these things we're talking about is about planning, because we are managing our city and our towns in a way that doesn't respect any plan. Either the plans are missing totally, or the ones that are there are not being implemented. If you see what's happening right now, it's because maybe there are illegal structures along the riverbeds. People have built in places that they're not supposed to build, and now when the rains come and maybe the river wants to find its way, it has to cause this kind of flooding. So we are simply not working according to plan. We are simply doing things on autopilot, and so the ultimate result is what we are seeing. So for me, in terms of long-term solution, we need to come back to the drawing board, develop a very clear plan for our cities and for our towns, and follow the plan. Because like in Nairobi, for instance, we have plans in certain areas. We have the new plan that was in 2013. Of course, we've been talking about the local area plans, which are still not there. But if we can have all these tools in place, and then we make sure that this is the guiding principle, the guiding roadmap to everything that we do, then we'll definitely not have this kind of problems. So things like having proper drainage system in place, making sure that we clear the waterways, making sure that don't allow any construction along the route for the river, will ultimately then have a situation where we have an organized and a city that has order.
And that will never happen.
No.
That will never happen.
I think it's about
never
leadership.
Use the word never.
Don't say never. I think it's about having...
Not in our lifetime.
it can't
Don't
happen
say
even
that.
in our
It
lifetime.
can't. There's too much corruption. There's too many cartels.
That's what I'm saying. Just having the right people in the right place. If you have somebody who really means well for the city, if you have somebody who can take tough decisions, Jeff, it will happen in our lifetime. It's not rocket science. It's not difficult to do.
Unfortunately, some of these are actually approved plans. So when it's not you submit your drawing and it's approved. I'll just assume that you're a layperson. You take it to City Hall and it's approved. And once it's approved, you build. You have actually all your approval sheets with you and everything that is approved. And you've gotten all the professionals to do your work for you. So it's probably a little bit more, that planning, that integrated planning is what we need and it's what we are lacking. And also, should I use the word integrity in the approval system? So that, when we are doing our designs, when you're doing the drainages and everything else, we actually take a long time. You don't imagine what happened 10 years and assume that is what is going to happen. We actually look at a 100-year plan. If you remember 1997, we had El Nino. If the person who's going to build where they're building, that place had flooded in 1997, I'm almost 100% sure of that. And therefore, if somebody is approving a building on that land, I think we're just not being fair to Kenyans.
Yeah,
but also sometimes the approval, I think, are done with, just working on what is, like, I think NEMA is also part of the people who drop the ball, especially. Because there used to be a mall somewhere at the bottom of Mbagathi. You remember that opposite T-Mall?
Yes.
It was on the waterway.
Absolutely.
But eventually it was brought down. And that guy's investment was quite a bit.
Yep.
And Westgate is the other place, opposite Westgate,
Exactly.
remember?
Yes.
UK Center.
Yeah.
That one.
Yes. So who's the one who approved those ones that they can do what needs to be done now and we move on? I mean, whoever's on the riverbed or riparian land just needs to take responsibility, count their losses, and we go on.
It comes back to corruption, people.
Yeah, there's an element of corruption, correct. I think there are people who are in office who are supposed to do certain things, but then because of corruption, they look the other way around. So it's a mix of corruption and having people who are not making the right decision. So if we can be able to make sure that whatever we are doing is done according to the law. And talking about approval of buildings and approval of these plans that we talk about, ideally, what we should be doing is making sure that we have all the key stakeholders speaking the same language. Because what we have right now, for instance, in terms of an approval process, NEMA has its work to do, the county government has work to do, Water Resource Authority have work to do, and they're not speaking to each other. So everybody is doing what they want to do, and you can find that there's something that NEMA has approved, and then the county government maybe is not approving, and then now they start passing the blame among each other. So the government entities involved need to speak with each other. We have to have some level of coordination. But most importantly, we have other key stakeholders who are not necessarily in government, like the professionals, like the resident associations. These people need to be part and parcel of the approval process. And we've always said that in a city like Nairobi, for instance, we have very active and vibrant resident associations. What is so difficult in making sure that before any approval is given at the county level, we have an express approval from the resident association of that particular area, so that they can be able to expressly say that as people who are going to be directly affected by this development, we have given our approval or we have not given approval. That is not happening. And we have people who are giving approval who have no idea of what is on the ground. They're just dealing with papers. And when they're told that this is not happening right, then because they've been corrupted, so to speak, then they look the other way around.
Last week there was a video that was trending where I think it is somewhere near Juja, there was flooding on the road. And I don't know if it's their disaster preparedness, but they sent a backhoe to scoop water from the road onto the side. How embarrassing is that?
No. That backhoe was actually preparing to open. There was a median concrete between the road. What divides one road to the other one. One side was flooded, the other one was not flooded. It was actually preparing to break that concrete. So whoever took that video saw those preparation works. So I think I've seen that, and it looks like somebody said our agencies don't know what they're doing.
There's another one where
there's
water being put into a truck. Have you seen that one?
No, I haven't seen that one. But that particular one you're talking about, then I just want to say.
But some parents are the ones who are taking the bigger risk of, like you see, there's always this one pickup or truck trying to cross a river.
But maybe they're desperate to get from one place to another. from home to the market.
It's one thing. It's one thing for a grown-up to decide you're crossing a river. It is sad, but it's one thing. For a child, I think those are the people who are vulnerable, and we should protect them. We should not subject them, because if you tell a child to go to school, they will go to school.
Yeah.
They can see the river. They are saying, I've been crossing here. They'll actually cross. They don't have that ability yet to think that they can cross the river. So if a grown-up is going to cross the river, it is very unfortunate, but they probably have made that decision. A child, you're just telling them to go, they'll go. So I think the schools, that was the right decision. Unfortunately, also, there are some people who are already in school. I mean, the kids, because it came quite late, some kids have already opened. So there are some people who are already in school. And some will not even hear that, actually. They'll go to school and find there's nobody in school.
Some of these things we are dealing with is just because of what I could call bad manners of people.
Absolutely.
Like littering everywhere, throwing trash in plastics and all that. So we also have to take some level of responsibility as individuals and as residents of these cities, so that we even manage our waste in a better way. We don't litter and we don't have things thrown everywhere. And even at community level, there are simple things that can be done, like clearing the drainage within the estate. These are things that you don't really have to sit back and wait. And if people are well organized like they are in most places, then they can be able to make sure that their drainage system is working within their neighborhood, and also just sensitizing the people, the public. Like what you're saying, people crossing rivers when they know very well that it's dangerous. We also need to invest a little bit more on public education and awareness creation, so that people start appreciating the gravity of what we're talking about. Like the people who are crossing the river in a lorry, maybe in their mind they think that this lorry is so big and it's so heavy, and
it has sand and everything.
But there's a sense about the water and how it can sweep away even very heavy vehicles like that. So public education and awareness for people to start being very sensitive on how to react or how to behave in this kind of situation is very, very key. And that's where government comes in, that's where other actors come in, and making sure that people are properly informed and able to make the right decision.
Are we consulting quacks, or what's happening in that field? Because there's a place, I think, in Garissa, where they say as soon as it rains even a little, that bridge has to collapse.
A lot of responsibility lies with the individual. And when I say that is, you'll find people think engineers are expensive. They probably are. But it's just like somebody saying education is expensive. Try ignorance. If you decide to build your house and you decide that you're probably doing a seven-story building and you do not want to consult an engineer because you think they're expensive, I mean, what is the downside to that? And that's what's happening to a lot of our infrastructure. When buildings were collapsing, everybody's blaming engineers and what have you. Any house that is built, we have 1 million other houses that are standing, that are actually built by the engineers. So that house that is collapsing, just find out who's building. That bridge that is collapsing, just find out who's building it.
So it just boils down to regulations by the county, and because I believe in a house, there's usually electrical engineer, the structural engineer, and all these things.
What the county does, and to give them credit, they will, if you submit a drawing with my name, they'll approve it, because they know me. They'll check whether I'm accredited and I'm fine, and they will. And you give that and you'll approve. And then maybe I did invent the design for you. And then you go and give it to somebody else to build for you without my input, without my supervision. But you see, as far as the county is concerned, I signed the drawing for you, and I probably actually did. But because I'm signing another 3, 5, 10 other buildings, I'm expecting you who's building to actually come and tell me, now my building has started, come and supervise now. Come and we are not there. I cannot. I'm not. What do I say? I don't stay on your site. So there are just key areas, key elements that we need to confirm for you, because you have the people who are the technical people who are on the site. So if you don't involve those ones, what happens?
Corruption sets in. Corruption sets in, Jay.
Poor workmanship.
No, I actually don't want to use the word corruption. The individual thinks that they are saving money.
So they're cutting corners.
Yes, and somebody comes and tells you. I remember there's a building that collapsed somewhere in Nyeri. And when you're talking to the client, she said that she was the person who actually on site, who was doing her site, took her to various sites and showed her, I built this, I built this, I built this. And she was convinced. And I'm asking them, did you find out what this guy was building? In a building, we have 1 million people. Was he the painter? Was he the carpenter? Was he the... when he says he built this, what was he? So you need to get... And we have our Engineers Board of Kenya with accredited, or the people who are the engineers. If you don't want to consult that, I don't know how you can be helped. So I think to me, it actually boils down to the developers. Please, when you're developing something that is of any value to you, you're developing your family house, you're developing an apartment that people are going to live in, just consult the correct people.
One of the things that is ailing us is that lack of coordination among the various stakeholders. So like you say, the national conversation should now be able to look at who exactly are the people in this space, and how can we be able to make sure that we are speaking in one voice, and we are moving towards the same direction. But at the county level, it is very useful to have all these key stakeholders form part of the planning approval committee, so that at the end of the day, once we say that this particular plan has been approved for construction, then we can all be able to say that, yes, it is true and we are satisfied. The challenge that I know, because we are representing that committee, is that even the planning approval committee itself is being, in a way, sabotaged, because there are things that are approving, or there are things that it's shown that they've approved, yet they did not approve. And there are certain things that's supposed to go through the committee, it's not going through the committee. So I think we just need goodwill, we just need proper and strong leadership, so that we do the right thing. Otherwise, we'll be forming these committees, we'll be forming these bodies, but then we don't have the intention.
Development should follow infrastructure. You, first of all, you want to put a petrol station there. What is the infrastructure leading to that? Because you're going to have a lot more traffic within that area on that account. It's a residential area. What have we done about the approach to that, the roads to that place?
And also the flats surrounding the petrol station. Isn't there a danger there sometimes?
So what are we doing about all that? We have NEMA. I know many engineers have done environmental and social impact assessment. And that is done for it's a requirement by NEMA that every development has that ESIA assessment done. And once that is done, they not only do the assessment, they also give the mitigation, the mitigation in short-term, long-term, medium-term, long-term. Do we follow that?
No.
And once that is done, and it's a bitter negative, one of the results of that ESI is do nothing. But if he uses the word hell-bent or doing something, then you just ignore that.
We really need to make sure that we have these plans, but then most importantly, we are following the plans and we are implementing them accordingly. One of the challenges that we are having right now as CARA is we have a county government allowing buildings to come up in places where they're not supposed to come up.
Yep.
And then when you challenge them, then you are told maybe go to another entity. You are told that we are following certain precedents that have been there before, simply because we don't have something to fall back to in terms of a proper plan that will be able to guide us on what should be where. So I think, like I said at the beginning, what will help us out in this particular process is to really get serious with our planning and make sure that we are respecting stakeholders and we are allowing them to give input. The Constitution talks very elaborately about public participation. The idea was to make sure that in every decision that we make, it is a bottom-up kind of approach, not the one for Kenya Kwanza, but a bottom-up in the sense that the people who are going to be directly affected by any decision must have a very key input. And that input must be respected, so that ultimately the results of a particular process is reflecting the expectations and the fears or the concerns of the people who are going to be affected. So that is not happening, and that is why we have this kind of challenge that we are having.